This is Harry Judd for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're at the Tottenham ground. I'm delighted to be on with Frank Warren. First of all, just a moment ago, you gave me a white package to give to Fury. Seemed a bit ominous. What was it exactly?
I lost a bet to him.
Any details on that? How much was taken over?
I had a 10 grand bet with him that Joshua would sign for the fight, and he said he won't.
We are here. We're back again. Fury Chisora 3. How easy was it to make this fight, Frank?
It's been a bit of a pain. I mean, Derek kept calling him out and whatever, and then we had some quite tough negotiations, but we got it over the line. And Derek really is out of him. Manuel Char is not ranked, and a couple of other guys we looked at weren't available. So, you know, it's Derek, and Derek's grabbed this opportunity with both hands. He generally thinks he got the beat in the TYSON. Me, I don't think anybody can beat TYSON. I think he's the best heavyweight out there, but. You know, Derek comes and gives a good account of himself. He's coming off a good win. He's been involved in exciting fights with Dillian White, which I thought one of them he won. The other one he was well in front till he got clipped. And he certainly gave Usyk a lot of problems. And it was a very close fight. I think a couple of judges give it to Usyk by a couple of rounds. So, you know, it is what it is. This is his, for me, is his last chance of any real glory in trying to win the heavyweight title.
How much have both fighters changed since the last time they met in the ring, Frank?
I think Derek's matured more. He fights a little bit differently. He's always had a big heart, but I think he has matured a bit more. TYSON, I think, is in a league of his own. I just think as I say, I think he's the best heavyweight on the planet.
There is a fear that this could be the last time we see Fury in the UK. What do you make of that?
Well, it depends what happens. I mean, if he comes through this fight and we get the Usyk fight on next year, I think he wins that fight again, but, you know, who knows?
As you are very aware, many negative comments in terms of this fight, Frank. What do you make of those? People asking, is there really a need for the third fight? But arguably, there's not a lot of names out there at the moment for TYSON.
You're absolutely right. And I've been through the list with a couple of you guys and told, and I'll do it again at the press conference, who is available and who isn't. And Derek was the guy that was available, the highest ranked guy that was available, and that's what we've gone with. TYSON needs a fight. If he's fighting Usyk, which will be next March, then he's out of the ring for a year without a fight. I can't have that. He can't have that. And all our plans all got screwed up because he was originally going to fight on the 12th of November. Got screwed up because of the situation with Joshua, because we all thought that was going to happen, and we worked hard very much to make it happen. But you know, for no fault of ours, it just didn't occur.
How close were the other fights to be made other than Joshua? Obviously, there were talks of Mahmoud Char. Was that ever a possibility?
Yeah, we could do it, but he's not ranked. You know, he's in activity. He hasn't been ranked, so that's what we've got to do, you know.
You can pay your bets, but you can't take in for the weather. Hope it don't rain December, Frank.
I can't tell you on any day what the weather's going to be like. If somebody can, they're great. I mean, years ago, our great weather forecasters said it was going to be a nice night and they had a hurricane. Who knows what's going to happen? But look, it is what it is. You know, I've run shows, open air shows in summer, and it's rained. It's been glorious days. I mean, look at yesterday was a fabulous day, wasn't it? Who knows? I mean, you know, I'm hoping and I'm quite sure we'll be okay on the night because when TYSON's involved, it all, touch wood, mostly goes to plan.
TYSON said previously on his social media that he'd get Isaac Lowe to train him for Chisora. Is that still the plan? Is that how serious he's taking his opponent, Frank?
No, he's Sugar's coming over for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, you have marked out recently Fury's next 3 fights. Obviously, Jake Chisora trilogy on the 3rd, Alexander Usyk, undisputed 2023, and then Joyce mandatory defence. Is that still the play?
Well, that was TYSON's plan. So, you know, I've got no problem with that. No problem with that at all.
Is this a stadium fight because of the matchup between the two heavyweights, or is it just because TYSON's back in the UK fighting again, Frank?
I think it's a bit of both. A bit of both. Yeah, he's a star, TYSON. He's a big star.
TYSON recently said that becoming the first heavyweight champion to fight 2 trilogies. How do you rank this trilogy in comparison to previous heavyweight ones, Frank?
Well, you know, I've got to be honest. I think Deontay Wilder was much more dangerous fighter, and he was a world champion, and he'd been a world champion for 6 years. So, you know, I'd say Deontay Wilder obviously is not being disrespectful to Derek Chisora. I think he's a tougher fight, but I also think Wilder would have been a tougher fight than. Was a tougher fight than AJ.
You have explained this before on TalkSport this morning, but for our viewers as well, a lot of people out there asking, why isn't this Joe Joyce? Take me through why Joe Joyce wasn't picked for this one, Frank.
Well, he won't be ready. He only fought recently, and he took time out, went on holiday, so it won't, for a fight of this magnitude, he just he wouldn't be ready. And he asked if we could push it back, but we can't, because as I've said, the Usyk fight's on, and we can't be having a fight, the last week of December. I don't want to be doing that. It's bad enough we've had to push it back to the 3rd. I don't want to be doing that because it's not going to give me enough time to prepare for Usyk if he comes through.
Daniel Dubois on the card as well, a good opponent with Lorena. How serious was it that the Lucas Brown fight that was spoken about before?
We didn't. I've never applied to the border control or anything for that fight.
So no discussions at all. It was always going to be.
I think there was some talks, there was some approaches made, but it was never nothing. I got in touch with the board and asked them to sanction.
If Fury does get through this, as you hope, how realistic is that Usyk fight in 2023, Frank?
I think it's very, very much realistic. I mean, it would have taken place in December had Usyk not been fit enough to fight.
Obviously, for this fight, you wanted AJ. Just take us through again why that fight didn't happen, Frank, in your eyes.
It didn't happen because I didn't want it. And I think Frank Smith did an interview yesterday. He said that they didn't feel there was enough time. I don't know what that was all about because we spent God knows how long on negotiating. But that's what he said, so that's where they are. So they've told you the answer to it. They didn't think their man would be ready.
With Tyson's 3 fights that he's mapped out, arguably they could be his last 3 fights. Will we ever see this AJ fight happen?
Who knows? I don't know what's going to happen with AJ. I mean, who knows where he goes? I mean, he's liable. I don't know who he's going to be fighting next, or his next couple of fights are, and he's got to come through those fights.
You have announced recently Parker Ryder, huge fight, Frank.
Great fight. It's a great fight. Yeah, very, very good fight. Yeah.
And a good undercard as well. Dennis Buchan, Sam Noakes on that bill as well. Fantastic for those two.
Really, really good competitive night's boxing. There'll be some great fights on it. I mean, that is a real competitive show.
Also return at the weekend, Wilder, a lot slimmer, fighting on the back foot, and again, but a knockout. Incredible, Frank. What did you make of it?
He's just a powerful man. I mean, he's so dangerous. Look, he had Tyson on the floor a few times, and that tells you all about Tyson. You see what he done with Elenius. I mean, he was absolutely, completely knocked cold. And look at Tyson. He put Tyson down, who I thought at the time was knocked cold in the first fight, but he got up. And that's testament to Tyson's chin, and also his resilience and his desire to win.
Give me a ranking then where you put Wilder in the top 5.
I think he's probably in about number 2 or 3.
So obviously Fury first, and then
I would say Fury, Tyson, Usyk. You got to put in there. I would put Joe Joyce in. I'd stick Dubois in. I mean, I know they're with me, but I'd put them in. I think that's the rankings for me.
And in terms of this fight and in terms of the audience, obviously there's a lot of people, like negative comments in terms of this fight. But are you expecting a high turnout?
Yeah, that's why we're here. Otherwise, we've gone to a smaller venue.
And finally, then, Chisora's. We don't know what he's going to do in the press conference. What are you expecting from today?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't tell you what he's so unpredictable. Long as on the night he fights and comes to fight and gives a good account of himself, which I'm sure he will do. That's all I care about.
Frank, again, thank you so much for talking to Boxing Social.